Alright, man, what's good? It's your boy Sam Action, joined by my co-host, Mr. Black.
What up?
He's here. We're here live to bring you the best content. We can call this the Cushion Coffee Show. Episode 1. There's a few things we'll get into. But first and foremost, we wanted to address this Antonio Brown controversy. If you don't know, Antonio Brown is a wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Controversy indeed.
One of the best in the league. Some people consider him the best wide receiver in the league. Some consider him the best wide receiver in the league.
I would.
Some people have him. He's definitely top two.
Or at least he's been.
Yeah, he has.
There may have been some decline, but he's
maybe
still at the top of the game.
I mean, you could argue maybe, but then again, you could argue that he's leading the league in touchdown receptions too. So there's some controversy there. Basically, what's going on is this past week, I suppose. I guess there was some sort of altercation in practice between. It's being reported that there was some sort of altercation in practice between Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. Something like saying that, I guess there was some sort of verbal altercation, and there was a football thrown from Brown at Big Ben. At this point, we don't really know how much of this is true or what really happened, but there was something apparently that went on in practice. And Antonio Brown, I guess, stormed out of practice, had some interesting words saying something like, why don't y'all just trade me or something? I don't know. This is just stuff that people report. I'm reading this article from the Washington Post that written by Des Beyer, I guess. It's D-E-S, last name B-E-I-E-I-R. I don't know who this dude is, but he's the one who's reporting all of this. So if any of it is false, attack that bitch ass nigga, not me. So anyway, he's reporting this, and then according to Jason La Canfora, he tweeted Tuesday that Brown made a request for a trade, and talking about his reasoning behind it is, there's issues with Coach Mike Tomlin and the quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Maybe he's feeling like, Ben is getting some sort of preferential treatment, or, maybe he's feeling like no one's listening to his issues or concerns because of Ben. I don't know, but it's clear that there's something going on between Tomlin, Brown, and Ben. There's something going on with that weird little love triangle. And Brown's pissed off about something. He's not having it. But, we really don't know at this point how serious these trade requests are. So that's what the situation is. And I really want to get my man, Mr. Black's input on this whole situation. It's always interesting and titillating to listen to your observations.
I mean, sometimes, I guess, but I kind of don't know how to feel about this one. I mean, I just found out about it not too long ago, so I'm kind of processing it. And at the same time, I haven't really been watching a lot of football, so I kind of don't care. But I say it's not a good look for the Steelers. I mean, at this point, it looks like the whole franchise is in a disarray right now. I mean, you got your star running back, played hooky for the entire season, just basically gave away $15 million, didn't want to play for you at all. Your star wide receiver is now asking for an out. You just imploded after 7-2-1 start, missed the playoffs. I mean, it just doesn't really look good right now. And honestly, I don't know that their best move is to hold on to any of these guys anymore at this point. I mean, I don't want to like go into panic mode or anything, but I mean, as much distraction and stuff that's going on, why even keep on holding on to them? Like they don't want to be here.
From a money standpoint, it would be extremely stupid for the Steelers to do anything besides keep Antonio Brown. They're on the hook for $19 million.
Right.
Guaranteed. So it doesn't make much sense to be paying close to $20 million to someone who's not even on your team or is not even contributing to your efforts towards the Super Bowl. So from a money standpoint, there's not a great option because it's gonna hit you hard. You know that $20 million, and you know that's cap space that you can't use now. And there's a situation there. So I mean, I can understand if they don't want to do it.
But I agree.
I'm not giving nobody
Antonio Brown. I mean, he really would have to just sit, and at the most, if he wants to play those games, he just wouldn't play any games. And you know, I just
look. Here's my thing. My take on it is this: I think this is all being blown out of proportion. To be honest with you, I don't even think there's been an official trade request made by Antonio Brown. I really don't. Now, if that's the case and he's not coming out and saying, hey, I didn't really request a trade, then yeah, there's some culpability there. You need to at least come out and say what's going on. That don't mean he doesn't want out, though. He may want out. But I don't know. At this point, it's too early to really say how serious this quote-unquote trade request really is. I mean, from Antonio Brown's standpoint, I don't think it makes much sense to go elsewhere. You could end up on a worse team with a worse quarterback. And chances are that's probably what's going to happen to you because any team that's really going to have the cap's room and the money to bring you on is probably going to be a team that doesn't have other integral pieces already in place. Because, you know, if you got your franchise quarterback, he's getting paid, you know, so you may – you know, he may not really have good options, you know, and I think if he was to sit down and actually think about it, he would come to that conclusion like, you know what? This is probably the best place for me. Maybe it's time to save face, make some apologies if necessary, and just, you know, move on. But, I mean, who knows? We'll find out. Time will tell what's really going on.
He could be ready to go home.
Yeah.
He could be ready to go back down to Miami.
Yeah, that's where he's from. I mean, the question is, what's more important to Brown, you know, winning or the individual accolades? Because a lot of people make that argument that, you know, he's selfish. He doesn't really care about the team. All he cares about himself.
I mean,
all he cares about is himself, I should say.
That could be a family move, too. So, I mean, it doesn't have to all be about self.
Right.
I mean,
and the thing about it is, I mean, at this point, Brown doesn't have any control over where he goes.
Not for $20 million.
He don't have no control over where he goes or anything if he is dealt. If that don't matter, if it's so bad he just wants out of Pittsburgh regardless, then, you know, hey, I can understand it. I don't know how bad it is, but, you know, I think there's culpability to go around, you know. Big Ben, Mike Tomlin, and Brown. And I think Ben is responsible for creating a locker room atmosphere where people think this type of stuff is okay. You know, I think I think that's his playing it, and I also think he's playing down how much he knows about what's going on. He made it seem like he didn't know what they were talking about when they reported that there was some sort of altercation at practice. You know, maybe he's telling the truth, but he acted like he didn't know what they were talking about. He said last time he and Brown spoke, everything was good, no issues. So, I mean, I don't think he's being 100% forthcoming, but he might have good reason for that. So, I don't know.
I don't really know the guy, but I don't really know if I would characterize him as all that trustworthy.
Yeah, my thing with Ben is just he just seems so willing to throw teammates under the bus and talk about stuff that should be in-house in the public. You know, there's certain stuff that's family business, that stuff that we don't talk about with other folk, you know.
I mean, which kind of goes to back up, you know, what I said about just him not being trustworthy. He doesn't keep things in-house. You know, he's
trustworthy has to do with the expectations that they have of him. So if they have the expectation of him to shut the hell up, which I would think that they do, and he's not doing that, then he's not trustworthy.
I mean,
And
they also have the expect him to not throw fucking 50
his players can't trust him.
interceptions.
His players can't even trust him because his teammates, because he throws them under the bus, criticizing Brown's route running. If you want to criticize somebody's play, do that in the locker room. You know, I don't care how long you played for the Steelers. I don't care how any player. You know, Tom Brady doesn't have the right to do that, and he's been with his organization and winning football games for a long time. No amount of tenure or winning gives you, in my opinion, the right to openly criticize a teammate in the public for any reason, whether it's truthful or not. You know, that's something you pull them to the side. Hey, you should have ran. You should have zigged when you zagged or something. You pull them aside and discuss that in-house. You don't put that out there in the world. And there's just, there's been too much of that going on the last few years, and I think a lot of it has to do with Ben. So, if somebody made a good point, I was listening, or I was reading something. They made a good point that you can really only go as far as your leaders will take you, and Ben's not a good leader in my opinion, and neither is Brown. So maybe that's what needs to change, the leadership, and maybe. I think Tomlin, he wants to do more, but I think he just knows that he can't because, there's only so much you can do when you don't have total control. You can't really expect a coach to have any control if you don't grant him full control, because players will always know, hey, I can do this and I'll be protected by ownership, So, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. From this very beginning, from the genesis of this nonsense that's going on. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, I don't really know what's going to happen and how much is true, but for now, like Mr. Black said, it's not a good look for the Steelers organization. I mean, think about 10, 15 years ago. Could you even imagine any of this type of stuff going on with the Steelers? I can't.
No, not at all. There was, a lot of leadership back then, for better or for worse. A lot of strong personalities who, were strong, competitive type players. They really weren't about, the culture was a lot different, I should say, back then.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's changed a lot. I honestly thought it started changing when Joey Porter left. That defense loss is spared a little bit. And then when Polamalu retired, it was really kind of like,
yeah,
it was the end, like the death of
I think what
era.
happened is once Ben became like the elder, one of the older locker room guys, and once all of the guys from the previous regimes were out of there, I think the last of that bunch, as far as offense goes, I think was like Hines Ward. I think once that leadership was gone and it was time for Ben to take hold of the leadership role, he didn't do a good job with that. I think he was slowly anticipating that moment too, because there was a lot of stuff that he wanted to say but knew that he really couldn't because the current leadership regime would chew his ass out for doing it. But now that he's in that role, he feels like, okay, now's my time to start criticizing the people I want to criticize, start showing my ass, getting coaches fired and stuff like that. So, that's definitely a lack of quality leadership right now in the Steelers locker room, and that's a shame. Never thought I'd be saying that. Antonio Brown, a.k.a. the Black Trump, has been treated very unfairly. Somebody commented that on this article. Whatever, the future is juju. All right. Y'all keep thinking that. Do you think it's a coincidence that Juju Smith had an amazing season and Antonio Brown is lined up on the other side of the field from him? Do you think that's a coincidence? It's not. Is he a beast? Absolutely. Can he be a number one receiver? Absolutely. Can he be Antonio Brown?
We'll see.
Can he be Antonio Brown? I don't know. I mean, he did fumble and pretty much lose the game for the Steelers against the Saints. You know, there was other stuff that contributed to that loss, like bad calls, but they still had a chance to win at that point, and it looked like they might get it done. And then he fumbled Ruski. Now, that can happen to anybody. Brown's fumbled in crucial moments, so it's not like Brown wouldn't do that. It's just that don't think that, you can just ship Brown out and it's just business as usual. You're just going to continue on as you were before, because that's not how it goes. I mean, when you lose a Brown, you can't just bring another Brown in. So you can't just bring in another receiver that's going to get doubled all the time and free up Juju Smith-Schuster. So, I mean, that's something else to consider, too, if you're one of the people who's advocating for Brown to just get traded, regardless of the money situation. You got to consider that, too. I mean, they didn't even make it to the playoffs this year with him. So, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Hey, I mean, we didn't make it to the playoffs with the man. So, I mean, and we won our last game of the season without him completely. Now, I mean, that's a little bit too close for comfort with the Bengals, right, in my opinion.
No.
But, it is what it is. That's just something to consider. Don't think it's just going to be, Juju Smith's just going to have another. Nah, it might not be like that. He might have an off year getting doubled all the time. So, we'll see. But, hey.
Double or triple, because, I mean, there were points in some of those games where both Antonio Brown and Juju Smith were both getting doubled. So, I mean, also to that point, James Washington really needed to step it up, and he didn't, and that was disappointing, to say the least.
Yep. I'm sitting up here looking at Antonio Brown's contract structure here. So what we're going in at 2019. Okay. Back in 2017, his base salary was $910,000. Now, in 2019, his base salary guaranteed, $12,625,000. And then in 2020, it goes down a little bit to like $11.3 million.
It was front loaded.
Then back up to $12.5 million in 2021.
That's cool. Get your money. Get your money.
By all means, get your paper. So that's what the Steelers have to consider as far as the financials go, and if they are considering trading Brown. I think Brown just might have got a little emotional and maybe said some stuff he didn't really mean, if he did, in fact, request a trade.
Nosy-ass reporter
heard
it.
Some nosy-ass reporter heard it at practice and took that as, he requested a trade. If that's what happened, then that reporter's a piece of shit, because that's really false. People get angry and say all types of stuff that they really don't mean. So if what they're saying is there was some sort of hiccup at practice and, words were exchanged. So if that's the case, it wouldn't be completely out of the realm to consider that maybe he just got mad and peeved off and said some shit he really didn't mean.
Me then.
But what's going on here, what people are looking into is, he didn't play on Friday. He missed practice, and then he left the game at halftime. Now, that type of shit is not cool. I really don't know what happened, but you ain't supposed to bounce on your teammates like that. If you got a problem with maybe Ben or Tomlin, you can have a problem with them. I don't know what happened, but don't bounce on your team like that. They sitting there at the game watching it. They sitting there after the game watching the Ravens game, hoping that they can make it to the playoffs, and you didn't left. So that's the only thing that's got me thinking maybe he did one out. You don't do that, man. You don't do that. I was mad at LeGarrette Blount when he played for us and he went into the locker room before the game was over because he was mad he wasn't getting the ball. That's not okay. But see, LeGarrette Blount is easy to get rid of. Antonio Brown gonna cost you.
Yeah.
So you can't just do that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be smart. As much as of a pain in the ass he might be, and he might be pissing off the Rooney's right now, and they might be like, this motherfucker, man, damn, every week is something with this nigga, and then we got to worry about Ben in his mouth and all this shit. Damn it. They got to think about the money before they go pulling the trigger, because if you remember what it was like when the Steelers kept those guys a little bit too long and they messed up the salary cap, and we wasn't right for those next few years. We had to get, we had to get rid of all that dead weight.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to end up in a situation where they get jammed up again, because I don't care what they say. Oh, the Steelers defense was ranked 6th. They need some people on defense.
Oh yeah.
So
without a doubt, and they need some people on that offense too. As quiet as it's kept.
Yeah, they got needs, so they definitely need as much cap space as they can get their hands on.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe a few extra draft picks too. That can never hurt. So I mean, things to consider. I think this is I think what's probably gonna end up happening. I just don't see them doing a trade. I don't see the Steelers trading them. I just don't see them making a decision like that, knowing that it could jam up their cap space for next few seasons or whatever. But
I think even if I was into the season right now, I think that I agree. I wouldn't be overly concerned with any of this. I mean, at this point, it just sounds like talk. And if he is traded, I'd be highly surprised.
Yeah,
highly surprised. I mean, I just don't see what they could get in return for him. Either like they'd be expecting a lot, and I don't know. And
what team wants to inherit a potential headache like Antonio Brown?
For as much as the Steelers are going to want for him,
right?
Yeah.
They would have to pretty much give him away.
Can't do that.
Yeah, right.
He ain't Santonio Holmes.
He's 30. You know what I mean? So, he could be very close to declining. There's a lot of stuff to consider, with Antonio Brown's situation, specifically with the money, too, and his age and everything. So, who knows? But, yeah, I agree with you. I don't see the Steelers making a move on trading him. It's just not smart. It's just not a smart business move to make.
Right.
And at the end of the day, this is a business. You know what I mean? You can run your organization however you want to, run it like a family, but it's a business. Make no mistake about it. So sometimes you do stuff you might have to do some stuff you don't really want to do for the better, for the sake of the business.
Something strange for that little piece of change,
yeah,
as we like to say.
Strange for a piece of change or a draft pick. So, I don't know, man. People probably think I don't like Big Ben because I be criticizing him, but I seen the stuff with him. You know what I mean? As far as the little underhanded throwing people under the bus, and then he didn't throw nobody under the bus this time, but I think he probably knows more than what he's saying. If people are reporting that there was some sort of altercation, he can't really be that clueless as to what they're talking about.
Right.
He knows. Otherwise, he would have just came out and said, that's 100% false. We didn't have no kind of altercation. He didn't say that. He said, if there was, I didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's some very Ben Roethlisberger answer. He said something without saying shit. You know what I mean? So, we'll see. I mean, even Cowher criticized Ben, talk about how he sometimes he's a baby, over embellishes injuries sometimes and make him out to be worse. Oh, I couldn't feel my leg or something. Motherfucker, somebody stepped on your big toe in the mall.
I missed that. Is that what Coach Cowher said?
Oh, this was a long time ago. Yeah, this was a long time ago after he had retired from being a coach.
Obviously.
And Ben was about to play hurt in some game, and, Cowher made a point to say sometimes,
he's not really as hurt as he's trying to make it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we know that he has a history of being dishonest, especially when it comes to talking to the media, specifically about his situation and others. So, I mean, And he, you know what, that could be false. He could be telling the complete and honest truth. But when you got a track record like that, how could you really get upset for people speculating about how truthful you're really being? You know.
And he has a track record.
Oh, he has quite the his jacket is long. His rap sheet, a list of various offenses. Let's not forget he was raping bitches either. Big Ben raping
women.
Women?
He was raping women.
He was raping bitches. We're not PC over here.
My name is Mr. Black.
Mr. Black.
I don't know nothing about no PC.
Right. And I'm Sam Action, so if you came here for that PC shit, you came to the wrong place. Pure, unadulterated facts and truth. He ain't sugarcoating nothing for nobody.
I'm just saying, I'm not ready to call them bitches yet. I'm just all. That's all.
Hey, that's okay.
That's all.
I mean, that's probably what Ben was calling them when he was taking the pussy. Taking the pussy in North Carolina bar bathroom stalls and shit. Like, come on, bro. Hey, there's a big Steeler fan base in that area, so the cops was probably like, look, man, if you gonna rape, do that shit in another state, man. Shit is hot right now, baby. They cracking down on shit like this. We ain't gonna be able to sweep too many more of these under the rug. Look, we got a designated rape bar for you, okay? Everybody will keep quiet. Now, the quality of woman in here is gonna be lower, but you won't never have to worry about getting jammed up legally. Like, no. Did I go too far with that one? Did I take it to a level we weren't ready to go to just yet? Fuck it. So that's my grand scheme, like my stand back and look at everything from the outside standpoint, and like kind of there's more to this than just Brown saying I want to trade. You know, it's not just that. There's a lot, and if this is what happens, there was a lot building up to this too. You know, like I said, I think just Tomlin has some culpability too. You know, these players, you know, you've tried to give them these freedoms, and you've seen what's happening. So now you got to reel them back in and say, all right, here's the deal. This goes for everybody. Any of this off the field, getting up on the podium, running your mouth about other players and stuff like that is done. We're not doing that no more. Anybody that does it, you're gonna be disciplined. We're gonna suspend you. You're not gonna play. You know, something. You got to do something. Fine them. Yeah, fine them. Hit them pockets. Because some of these players, that's all they care about. Hit them pockets. And that shit will stop real fucking quick. Because the one thing, hey, you come to my money, you might have something on your mind, but if you know you going out and saying something that's on your mind might cost you a couple grand, maybe 20 grand, 30, 40 grand.
You going to make sure it's worth it.
Right. It's either going to be worth it or you just going to be like, it ain't worth it. You know what? I'm going to just keep quiet because, you know, I'm trying to get this new truck. You know what I mean? And they want me, that down payment might be a little hefty. Or, you know, my son getting ready to go off to college. I want to send him off properly. You know, whatever your situation is, you're going to consider before you run your mouth, especially after you get hit once, you're going to be like, you know what? It ain't even worth it. Just keep it behind closed doors. You know what? In the locker room, air it out. Say whatever the hell you want to say. Rumble. Do whatever you got to do. You know what I mean? If you got to fight a motherfucker to get some shit off your chest, do it. But do all that shit behind closed doors, so that you don't give this media circus ammunition. I think that's why this story got so big, is just because of the stuff that's been happening in Pittsburgh the last couple of years, and the way this season started with Bell sitting out and everything. All the reporters were licking their chops. They were like, oh, we're going to get a whole bunch of stories out of Pittsburgh this year, so here's just another one. So, you know, they've just been watching Pittsburgh closer.
Another one.
Yeah, like Kyle, another one.
Actually, that's like a biggie. And another one.
Another one.
And another one.
So that's probably, otherwise this might not have been that big a thing. It might not even have been a story. You know, just something that happened at practice. Things got a little bit heated. We may have never even known about this. So, you know, who knows? I guess we'll find out.
Pepperidge Farm knows.
Pepperidge Farm knows, and Pepperidge Farm ain't gonna keep it to themselves, free of cost. So, but basically, it says, I'm reading this article. It says if the Steelers are inclined to try to trade Brown, regardless of whether he actually made the request, his contract could prove a major impediment. That might be a bit of an understatement. It said Brown would account for more than $21 million in dead money toward the team's salary cap in 2019 and more than $14 million in 2020.
Oh, so that is all at once.
Seemingly prohibitive amounts to pay for a player not to contribute on the field, especially one with the talent to lead the NFL in touchdown receptions this season.
That's amazing.
Did. So,
guess you just gonna have to shut the fuck up and play.
Right.
Damn, Smokey.
They're gonna they're gonna put some money on Brown's top. The Roonies ain't saints. They got some ties, and they got they start like a lot of these families with money. They start doing illegal shit. So don't even think for 1 second that they won't call up Fat Tony and them to swing by your crib. Maybe he was injured. Maybe he did have a knee injury. That's why he couldn't go in the game. They tuned him
all
up.
kind of pierogies up his ass.
Right? They say, you don't know about these Polish gangsters. They gonna send a Lebanese nigga to your crib with the biscuit. Oh man. But yeah, you got anything more on this? Like, what's your final kind of synopsis of the whole? I know you don't really care, but just from the outside looking in.
I say from the inside looking out that unfortunate, sad, cherish.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, what's going on? Like how far we've fallen. 13-3 last year. First round playoff what was that, divisional?
No, that was their first game.
It was their first game, but they had a bye.
Yeah, I guess they would have had a bye.
So they lost to the Jags.
The Jags,
which didn't wholly surprise me because we've lost to the Jags in the playoffs before. But I guess that's the issue, and it's like it's not just Tomlin. It was happening before Tomlin with Coach Cowher, and even Coach Cowher, we had some even more disappointing seasons. So I don't know. Like, there's something weird with that culture.
Yeah.
And it works sometimes with some players, and other players it doesn't. And I think right now we just got a lot of players that it just doesn't work with. And we were trying to hold on to them because we've seen them produce, but maybe there's something better out there for those guys, and for the Steelers as well. So it'd be interesting to see all of this get resolved and see the Steelers get back to their old ways, with guys who want to be there, playing and enjoying and having fun, doing what they love. That's my final thought on that all.
Good final thought, Mr. Black. My whole thing, I just think what's going on now with this Antonio Brown thing is simply a symptom of the problem, and it's not the problem. That's just my way of saying Brown's not the problem. I'm not saying one person individually is a problem either. I'm just saying I think this is just a symptom of the bigger problem. And that they need to, I think the Roonies and this whole organization, ownership, front office, everybody just needs to sit down, and if they don't already know what the problem is, identify it and nip that in the bud as soon as possible. Because what's going on with Brown is a symptom of the problem, not the actual problem itself. That's my thoughts. That's all I really got. So I think what I might do, we're going to take us a little quick break, and we'll be back with more smoke.